We are blessed to have someone on this very show who we can interview about his experience on the Piers Morgan show. Aaron, this was your second time on the
That's
Piers
me.
Morgan show?
Yeah.
That's you. Yeah, that is you.
You know what's funny, Katie, about you saying that we're blessed? It reminds me of when Rachel Maddow was interviewing Dexter Filkins of The New Yorker when he was pushing that like moronic story about Trump and Russia secretly communicating through a Russian bank server. And Rachel Maddow literally said, I'm not joking, she said, we are blessed as a country to have reporters like Dexter Filkins able to explain these complex stories for us. So we're blessed to have Dexter Filkins push Russiagate propaganda, and we are blessed to use Flatus to have me appearing on with Zionist propagandists on the Piers Morgan show, and it was quite the doozy.
And Piers, you got to have me on.
Well, let's watch a few clips from this for those who missed it. It's not easy to debate Israel apologists. First of all, they interrupt me a lot. It's really hard to get a full answer out because they interrupt constantly. But, well, in this clip, I tried to instruct my two Israel apologist co-panelists, including one of them who's like a Israeli special envoy for something. I'm not sure for what, but anyway, special envoy for Hasbara, propaganda maybe. I try to explain to them a little history that they don't understand. And the reason they don't understand is because they are selling a myth of Israel from its start to justify its ongoing ethnic cleansing and mass murder against Palestinians. What Israel should do is, for the first time in its history, abandon its quest for regional domination and supremacy. Starting in 1947, just a brief tour through history. Yes, Israel accepted partition publicly. Palestinians didn't. It's not nice to welcome the partition of your land, which is being stolen by foreigners. But privately, Israeli leaders, including David Ben-Gurion, said, we won't accept partition. We'll define for ourselves what our borders are. And that's why they proceeded to expel hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, including into Lebanon, creating this crisis. They refused to address that. Instead of addressing their expulsion of Palestinians and theft of their land, they've stolen more. In 1967. In 1982, the reason Israel invades Lebanon is because the PLO was there, and the PLO at that time was joining the rest of the world in accepting a compromise of a Palestinian state. Google the Arab Peace Initiative. It's been renewed many times to Israel. Israel's been offered by all the Arab states and the PLO, with even Iran joining them and accepting this. Everybody recognizing Israel, everybody making peace in exchange for Israel ending its occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. That's a major compromise for Palestinians. Israel is so hell-bent on domination, occupation, and supremacy, it's refused even to accept a Palestinian compromise. When Hamas tried to join that after 2005, when Israel withdrew, Israel still put Gaza under a complete siege, prevented any basic goods from getting in, carried out routine massacres. Even when Hamas leaders, including Ismail Haniyeh, who Israel recently killed, said, we will accept a Palestinian state, Israel will not accept it because Israel wants to dominate that region. That's the fundamental problem here. And as it was previously said, as long as Israel insists on supremacy and occupation, people are going to resist it. People will resist it. It's true. Google the Arab Peace Initiative, 2002. Google it.
Camp David Accords, 2000. What happened with the Clinton parameters, 2001?
I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened. You know what? I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened. The former Israeli foreign minister, Shlomo Ben-Ami, who was there at Camp David, do you want to know what he said? He was there at Camp David. This is the foreign minister who made the Camp David offer. He said, if I were a Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well. You know why? Because he recognizes that Israel insisted on keeping the major West Bank settlement blocks that make a Palestinian state impossible. That's the fundamental problem here. You don't see Palestinians as equal human beings, and you reserve the right to steal their land, and that's why you're interrupting me, because you can't handle the truth. That's the problem here. Stop being a supremacist, stop stealing land, and you can have peace. They interrupted me pretty frequently. And for Fleur Hassan, the Israeli special envoy, who said to me on Piers Morgan that Shlomo Ben-Ami never said that, this one's for you. This is Shlomo Ben-Ami saying exactly what I cited him as saying.
Camp David was not the missed opportunity for the Palestinians. And if I were a Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well. This is something I put in the book. If I were a Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well.
So there we go. That's exactly what he said. Fleur Hassan said he didn't say that. You can see for himself that he said it. And look, you know, like what to say. She says, you're living in La La Land. Well, she's living on stolen land and has bought into all of these foundational myths to justify that. And I don't know what to say.
She's living in both.
She's living in both. Yeah, she's living in La La. It's true. You're exactly right. To live on stolen land, you actually have to live in La La Land, which is where they are. And I don't know what to say after interacting with members of this cult. How will they be de-radicalized?
That's a good question. Yeah,
it's a paramount question, because I think the fate of the world kind of hinges on it, because this cult, these people who live in La La Land on stolen land, they have nuclear weapons, and as we're seeing right now, they're a threat to everybody, including themselves. So it's not easy to go up against them because they're just so brainwashed and so deluded, and it's hard to sit there as these people just justify the most inhumane atrocities going on in the world today. And I'm almost perplexed, and it's just I don't enjoy debating them, but I do think, some people would say, why do you even go on that show? Piers Morgan wants sensationalism, wants conflict. It's a one rare mainstream platform where someone like myself can lay out the facts that I tried to do there when I wasn't being interrupted. And so I think it's worth it for that. But I know some people disagree with that and say it's not even worth it.
I think it's worth it, personally. I mean, you get to correct a lot of misinformation. When
I'm allowed to speak, yes. Here's another clip where Fleur Hassan asked earlier in the debate, where are the Palestinian Mandelas? So this was my response to that.
If you want to talk about Palestinian Mandelas, if you want to talk about Palestinian Mandelas, they exist. For example, in March 2018, thousands of Palestinian Mandelas marched peacefully in Gaza in the Great March of Return, calling for their basic rights. What did Israel do? It gunned them down with snipers, maiming people, paralyzing them. That's the Palestinian Mandela. They're people of Gaza.
You see that? So everyone to her who protests for their basic rights is a Hamas terrorist. These are tens of thousands of people, young and old, paramedics, journalists, all of them were gunned down by Israel. Thousands maimed and injured, over 200 killed, marching peacefully. So that's the Palestinian Mandela. That's one example of a Palestinian Mandela. But in real, it actually, the better answer would be every single Palestinian is a Mandela, because Mandela in real life, not the sanitized version of him, he supported a people's right to armed resistance against an occupation. So every Palestinian who supports armed resistance or just peaceful resistance, no matter what, they're a Mandela, because Mandela actually was principled in supporting the right of a people to resist. So even her, conception of Mandela is completely false.
Well, Aaron, you did a good job, and I appreciate how professional you looked. You had appeared on Piers before, and you didn't wear a suit, and this time you did wear a suit, and I felt like there was a lot more gravitas.
I didn't have time to put on a suit because last time, the first time I did Piers, it was right after we did Monday Morning, and I had gotten the request right before we started Monday Morning, so I didn't have time to change right after we wrapped. So. I did. So really, it was, out of duty to this show.
I was going to say a lesser man would have bailed on Monday Morning, but not you.
No. That's my favorite part of the
week.
Do
you know what he did have though? All those books behind him, showing us how many books he has.
Yeah.
With mass murder and apartheid.
Go back to Canada and your little books behind you. You have nothing to do with this region. You don't speak the languages of this region. You're not.
So yes, that's a few clips from my appearance on the Piers Morgan show. If you want to watch it, go to his channel. You can watch the whole debate. I don't recommend it personally, but I think most people can use their time in a more efficient and productive way. But it's there if you want to watch it on the Piers Morgan YouTube channel.